You may be seated. Welcome to Saints Church. Welcome everybody online. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? Merry Christmas. Has anybody got all their shopping done? No? Anybody? Yeah? Okay, in the back I see you. Anybody else? So, I have 3 daughters, 23, 20, and 18. My 23-year-old's up here. And before, like when Christmas, you know, like we'd decorate the tree, and then they would write, like with a crayon, right? And they'd write their Santa list, and they, you know, write a red truck, I don't know, red doll. I'm like, wish I had a boy, right? No, I don't. A red doll or whatever, like, and they'd write like, you know, in crayon, they'd write like 4 or 5 things. Now, I have a Excel spreadsheet, and it has the item, the size, how much it costs. I'm not kidding. The website, you just really have to click. And it's a trick, because once you click, it just purchases it. You don't even get to see it. It just, thanks for shopping. And you're like, wait, I just wanted to see what it. So, I'm all done. I've finished my Christmas shopping already. Hey, how about this set? We got this Wednesday, this Friday, this Sunday. We got our Christmas production. We're excited. Invite somebody, bring somebody, believe it's gonna change their life. But man, I was looking at the set and I was like, it makes me think of something. And I've been wanting to do it. So I'm gonna do it, okay? You ready? Okay. Chris, help me, Chris. Inward. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? No? I sit there, I'm like, all right. Did I close it? I'm sorry. Won't you be mine? All right, ready? I want to talk to you from a thought called Born for This. Born for This. Born for This. Born for This. A few years back, this is my middle daughter, Angelique. She's now 20, so this is probably a decade ago. She said to me, Dad, she had just gone on a missions trip. I forget where we went, but she went on a missions trip, and she was lit up, and she was like on fire. She was like, I want to go on more missions trips. And she's like, Dad, can I just want to go on more missions trip. And I was like, man, Angelica, I love that you say that. I want you to go on more missions trip. Like, that's really, she's like, yeah, Dad, I love what you do, and like, you're so cool and good looking. And no, she didn't say that. She didn't say that. I heard that, but she didn't say that. She was like, Dad, I love what you do, and I love helping people. And then she was like, you know, like, how do you choose what country to go to, and who can go and who shouldn't go, or how much is the price, or where we're supposed to help, and when we get on the ground, what projects do we do, where do we do? She's asking all these questions. I'm like, whoa, like, why are you asking all these questions? And she said, so that I can take over when I turn 18. I don't know why you're laughing, because she's trying to get me out of a job, like, unemployed. But she said, so that I can take over when I turn 18. So that, she said, so that. She said, so that in any sentence always indicates purpose. It always indicates this is like, what's the point? Why did you do that? So that. I went to the restaurant so that I could eat. I took a picture of my food so that everybody could see what I was eating, as if anyone cares. I made 19 New Year's resolutions so that I have the chance of finishing one of those. I go to the gym so that my belly doesn't jiggle when I brush my teeth. That's disgusting, but can I get a witness? We wake up every single day, we get dressed, we head to work for what? What's the point? Why was I even born? Like, do you really just want to go through life 90 years, just like going through the rat race, like day after day after day after day until we get old? Or do you want your life to have importance, to have significance, to have purpose and blessings? Like, there has to be more to life than ... There has to be more to church than ... dot, dot, dot. I don't want to come to church Sunday after Sunday just to get a good feeling and go home and sit in the pew and like never do anything and never go beyond dot, dot, dot. I don't want to go through another week just floating in the wind. I'm tired of normalness. I'm tired of average. I'm tired of just like the complacency. I'm tired of coasting. What's my so that? And once we figure out our so that, then that will drive everything else. And no matter what happens, no matter the results, you will keep pressing forward and do it with joy. See, most people know what they do. Some people know how they do it. But most people don't know why they do what they do. You could say, if you were in business, you could say, I'm in business because I want to make a profit. And I would say, no, that's a result. That's not your so that. The result should never motivate you. The result should never drive you, because if your result motivates you, then when your expected result doesn't happen, then you'll just stop. Your results will change, your how will change, but your so that will never change. The so that is your purpose, your cause, your calling, your belief. That's what should drive you, and that will never stop. And whenever we're faced with what should I do in this situation, we should always answer it with our so that. So, what's my so that? Why am I here? Why was I born? Do I even have a purpose? Imagine one universe, 9 planets, 204 plus countries, 809 islands, 7 seas, that of all the years and all the decades and all the centuries, God could have picked whatever other time in history for you and I to be born, but he chose this exact moment, this time, this place for a very specific reason, because each and every single one of us has a so that, and it needs to be lived out right now. Remember Esther? Pretty young Jewish girl who's chosen to be queen to a Persian king. The king sees Esther and is like, hey girl, let me holla at you. They get married, and now she moves into the palace and she gets a queen-size bed. Get it? Gets all her facials and skin treatments and manis pedis for free at the highest levels. She gets the baths with the exotic rose petals, and she gets the massages on the hour, living like a queen. Started from the bottom, now we here. But then someone gets wind of a plan to kill all the Jews, her family, her friends, her people. And this person goes up to Esther and says, Esther, maybe, just maybe, this whole thing that's happened to you, maybe this situation that you actually got placed in, maybe, just maybe, this isn't about you. Maybe, just maybe, what's going on actually has a bigger purpose and bigger significance. Maybe, just maybe, you weren't put here to keep up with the Kardashians or be Real Housewife of Persia. Like maybe, just maybe, you were put here for a very specific purpose and reason and like. And there was a God plan behind all of this. Maybe, just maybe, you're supposed to use this time and this position and this placement to save God's people. Something so much bigger than you. When we die, our tombstone says a few things, right? And there's 2 dates on the tombstone, the day you were and the day you. And in the middle of those 2 dates, there's a dash. Little dash, little dash. Our whole life boils down to a dash. You get a dash, you get a dash, and you get a dash, and you get a dash, you get a dash, you get a dash. We got Oprah moment, you get a dash. Everyone gets a dash. Whether you live 20 years or 100 years, whether you were rich or poor, whether you had 4 million followers on Instagram or had 4 followers, whether you were good at sports or not, whether you know, all the things, whether you're famous or, like all of us, we all get a dash. We all get a dash. But what we do with that dash is what says, was the dash, was the life that we lived of importance, of significance. What we do with that dash is what builds a legacy. It's what people will remember us for. It's what it will answer the question, were you productive? Did you change your world? Did you love the people around you? Did you use your time efficiently and wisely? Was there true quality of life, or was it wasted? Did you live for Jesus and others, or did you live for yourself? Did you live out your purpose. And man, I want to live out my purpose. I want to live out my so that every single day. Listen, tomorrow's not promised. I know we've got a lot of things on the calendar. We put a lot of things on tomorrow and the next day, but we have no idea. What am I doing with my today that's living out my purpose? And God knows the time that we have on this earth. And if I have this many days, I don't want to waste any of them. I want to say every single day matters. What am I doing with this that lives out my so that? Not wasting another day. I'm living something for bigger than me that will long outlast me. I'm not like passing on complacency to my kids. I'm not passing on average to my kids. I'm not passing on normalness to my kids. I want my kids to look at their dad and say, no, he strove for greatness. He was looking at his life and every day mattered, and he lived with a focus and an alertness to make sure that he was crushing every day, living out his living out his purpose and the plan that God had for him. And so many times we're like, hey, I'll do it when. I'm like, what are you waiting for? We say, oh, maybe next year when we read the Bible together, we go through from cover to cover, maybe then I'll serve. Or maybe when I have a title, or when I have this, or when I have that, or when I get to this status, maybe then I'll serve, or I'll give, or I'll do this and that. I'm like, what are you waiting for? And somebody else could say, oh, I have a regular job, but you work for the church, so it's different. And I'm like, man, what I've been doing for 27 plus years, mainly in the humanitarian field, when I lived in Peru, we'd install wells and we did all these things. My so that is very different than what I do for a job. I love what I get to do. I love doing Feed Somebody Wednesdays. I love our mission trips. I love that we get to build houses and do medical campaigns and feeding programs. But my so that is not so some kid could have a full belly once in a while. My so that is so that I could be a bright, shining like star pointing to Jesus, a sign pointing to Jesus, making sure everybody knows who is Jesus. That's my so that. My so that is different than what I do for a job, different than what I do as a dad, different than what I do. And in all those things, I'm still trying to make sure everything points to Jesus. You could be a secretary, a doctor, a lawyer. Everything still should be pointing to Jesus. Every single one of us is a sign pointing to Jesus. You ever go on a highway and you're looking for food, right? What do? You look up. You look for the tall sign on the highway, whether it's McDonald's or Cracker Barrel or, right, whatever your favorite thing is. You look at that sign, say, that's the way to go. You drive, you get off the highway, you drive to the sign, you're following the sign. But you don't park at the sign and sit there. You get out and you go in the restaurant. The sign's pointing to the restaurant. The sign's pointing, saying, hey, in there is where you're going to get fed. I want to be a sign pointing to Jesus. It has nothing to do with me. It's not about me. I just want to be a sign pointing, hey, if you want to get fed, if you want to get healed, if you want to get free, if you want to, whatever you need, that's the way to do it. So let's be signs pointing to Jesus. That's our so that. That's our purpose. That's our reason for being on our earth, on this earth. Our so that is so someone else meets Jesus. I don't do things because I think it gets me likes from God. Our serving, our time, our extra, our giving doesn't help us get into heaven. Our serving, our time, our giving, our extra actually helps someone else get into heaven. I love what the guys did here building the set, or whoever the team is, and Katie and the team doing all the decorations and all the actors and the tech team that have put in so many hours to get this production ready for this week. I love that. That doesn't help them get into heaven. That's going to help somebody else get into heaven. Our so that is so someone else meets Jesus. Somebody's going to meet Jesus because they gave, they served, they went all in. And you could be like, hey, people may not know my name, but they're going to know his name. People may not see my face, but they're going to see his face. People may not meet me, but they're going to meet him. Listen, Mary didn't give birth so she could meet Jesus. Mary gave birth so the world could meet Jesus. Our so that is so someone else meets Jesus. And all throughout the Bible, there are hundreds of so that's. In fact, wherever there is a so that statement, in my Bible, I've literally put GP next to every single so that statement in the Bible. GP stands for grand purpose. God always has a so that when he speaks. He doesn't waste words. He doesn't waste breath. He doesn't waste time. There's always a point to the point. There's always a reason, a plan, a purpose, a destination. There's always a so that. He's not pulling out of the parking lot without knowing why and where he's going. For the most part, God is telling his people that I am doing this or that so that you will know that I and I alone are God. So that you can worship me, so that I can receive all the glory, so that you might be saved. Listen, a couple of them. Exodus 7:16, let my people go, so that they may worship me. Isaiah 45:5-6, I equip you, so that people may know that there is none besides me. I am the Lord and there is no other. John 16:33, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. John 15:11, I have told you this so that you may have, so my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Matthew 5:16, in the same way let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his one and only Son, so that everyone who believes in him will not perish, but have eternal life. There's always a so that. And Jesus knew his so that while he was on this earth. Jesus knew why he was born and what he was born for. In fact, at the end of his life, he's in this discussion. He's about to go to the cross. The Jews are trying to trap him, and so they bring him before Pilate, and Pilate and him are having this discussion. And John 18:37, it says, Pilate says, so are you the king or not? Jesus answered, you tell me. Because I am king, I was born and entered the world so that I could witness to the truth. Pilate is asking him for clarification and identification of who he was. And Jesus is like, yeah, that's who I was. That's who I am. And this is why I was born. I was born for this. I was born so that even standing in front of the person that was about to okay his excruciating execution and asking him these questions, he could have got out of it by saying whatever else. But he knew he was born for this moment, that whatever 33 years ago before that, the day he was born, it was all leading up to this moment because there was a purpose for his life. There was a plan. There was a destination. He was born for this moment, for this purpose, and no situation, no uncomfortableness, no bump in the road, no unexpected happenstance was going to stop him. And even before this event took place, he's out in the garden and he's talking, he's predicting about what's going to happen, and he's talking about him going to the cross. And he says in John 12:27, he says, now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? He says, before this purpose I came to this hour. King James says, before this cause. NIV says, no, it was for this very reason. MSG Message says, this is why I came in the first place. This is why I was born. I was born for this. I love Christmas. I love trees. I love the gifts. I love the candles. I love the family time. I love it all. But let's never lose sight that we are celebrating him coming to earth. This wasn't just a birth. This was a birth with a purpose. It's amazing that he came, but it's more amazing why he came. His birth was the first massive step in God's glorious plan of redemption. There was a reason for the visit. There was an end to the beginning. And you can imagine Mary pregnant, the baby, 9 months being formed in Mary's womb, and then gives birth. And you go, you know what a newborn baby is like, right? You want to smell every part. Every part smells amazing. I mean, their armpits smell good. But those cute little baby hands were created that first Christmas morning so that nails would be driven through them 33 years later. Those cute little baby toes, right? Those cute little feet were created so that they would one day walk up La Via Dolorosa and be also, the rocks would be cutting through his feet and his toes, and then they'd be placed one on top of each other on the cross, and a nail would go through both of those feet. Man, that beautiful, vulnerable, cute little baby head was created so that one day these men would be mocking him and making fun of him and put a crown of thorns on his head and press down, and the blood would be dripping. Oh, that cute little baby, a body that was wrapped in swaddling clothes was created so that one day it would be whipped and hung on a cross, and a spear would go through his side. He was born for this. Jesus was born with a purpose, which was the greatest victory over evil anyone has ever accomplished in all of history on this earth and beyond. Listen, he knew it, but so did the enemy. We talk about Christmas, silent night, a holy night, peace and joy, quiet little town of Bethlehem, cute little baby, young mom, Mary had a little lamb. John tells us in the book of Revelation that there was a 7-headed, 10-horned red dragon waiting outside the manger, ready to kill baby Jesus as soon as Mary gave birth. You never see that on the front of a Christmas card. Silent night, violent night. See, earth was oblivious to the significance of a simple birth in this little town, but heaven wasn't, and neither was hell. This was a declaration of war. This was a king coming to where his people were and fighting with everything he had for the freedom of them. This baby boy's birth offered deliverance for all of the human race forever and ever and ever, and the enemy knew it. And that's why the enemy didn't stop there. He gets Herod, who happened to be the current king of Judea at the time. And there's these 3 kings that were about to go visit Jesus because they heard the prophecy and they heard about this new baby king being born. And Herod, of course, hears about the same prophecy, and he hears that these kings are about to go visit this Jesus. And so he goes to the kings and he says, hey guys, I want to worship him too. And so if you find him, please let me know where he is so that I can go worship him. He wasn't trying to go worship him. He wanted to kill him. That doesn't work. The king's taking another way home. Never tell Herod. So now Herod doesn't know where baby Jesus is. So what does he do just to be sure? He literally sets a mandate to kill every single baby under the age of 2, trying to get rid of this threat. The enemy knew what was happening. The enemy knew what was coming. He knew about the prophecy. He was threatened by the potential. He was threatened by the God in this baby. And listen, the enemy actually knows and believes every single word God has ever said about every single one of you. The enemy knows about the plans that he has for you. He knows that God has plans to prosper you and bless you and not to harm you, that he's got big hope plans for you and big future plans for you. And the enemy does not want you doing what you've been called to do, and does not want you doing and being who you've been called to be. And the enemy is going to try to stop you at the baby stage, at the infant stage, when you first make that decision to say, oh, next year we're going to do Walk with Jesus. I'm going to start reading the Bible every day, or I'm going to get baptized, or I'm going to start helping with the set, or I'm going to help with the design, or whatever step you start to take towards Jesus, the enemy is going to come in like a flood and try to stop you and kill it at baby stage. I need you to stand strong. I need you to stay alert. I need you to be looking. I need you to stay focused. I need you to stand your grounds, because the enemy's trying to attack, trying to take out baby Jesus so he couldn't accomplish the plan and the purpose that the Father had for him that would save all of humanity. Enemy's out to get us. He sees the calling. He sees the potential in you. He sees the destiny. He sees the God in it. He sees your so that. That's why Jesus wasn't playing no games. Jesus came to fight at all costs, whatever the pain, the discomfort, the suffering, the anguish, the inconvenience, the misery, the cost, the price, the offering. It was God's will, nothing more, nothing less, come what may. And Jesus was all in. He wasn't holding back. He wasn't shortchanging anything. He came with a purpose. He came with a so that. He came to die. He came to love. He came to serve. He came to set the captives free. He came to save us. He gave his life so that everyone who believes in him will not perish but have eternal life. I want to wake up every day like that very first Christmas morning where Jesus enters the world. Like wake up with a declaration of war against evil. Like wake up and like let me at him. Like wake up, let's save the world today. That's our so that. Love God, love people, reach people, grow believers. It's not a Saints Church thing, it's a Jesus thing. And our so that is never about us. It's always about others. Worship team, you could come help me. Singers, you could come out too. Stop walking around aimlessly. Stop responding to everyone else's agenda and get focused and live out your so that. Let's declare, man, I was born for more. I was born to be free. I was born to be whole. I was born to be healed. I was born to be healthy. Not born to be wild, but wildly in love with Jesus. I was born for others, for the next generation, for the ones God puts in my world. I was born to die to my own desires and live for him. Serve his will, his calling, his purpose. I was saved to serve, blessed to bless, given to give. Despite how I feel or what I suffer or how the day is looking or what's face to face staring me down or what it may cost me or how big the sacrifice or how big the offering, I'm declaring I was born for this. You know, I think about, and I didn't even think about saying this, but when I think about my mom, and that tomorrow's her birthday, 74 years. December 9th, 1950, God planted a seed. And even though she went through so much and her mom died at her birth and drugs and attempted suicide and arrest and all the things that she did, you've heard her testimony, God was still building. The seed never stopped. The purpose of that seed never stopped because of anything that she chose to do. Purpose was still there. And that seed was bursting until she gave her life to Jesus. But Jesus knew that 74 years after that date, that she would have led an incredible church, incredible congregation of people for nearly 40 years alongside her best friend. I want you to think about your birthday. What's your birthday? What's your birthday? God planted a seed that day. That seed was you. And there was a purpose and a plan. And we could go about our day and be like, oh, today's a skip day. No, there's no skip days. Every day matters. I don't get a skip day in this life. I don't get a whatever day. I can live however I want. Every day matters because someone's watching, and there's literal lives that depend on it. I look at my 3 girls and I'm like, I don't have a skip day. I can't not be dad one day. I'm on all the time. And I want to make sure that they're seeing an example of someone that's going after Jesus and serving him and living out his purpose and living out his so that every single day there's no skip days. One more story and I'll close. Because a lot of times we go, yeah, I want to make a move towards God, or I want to step out, and I want to gain some ground here. I want to serve the Lord with everything I got. But man, there's this thing in my way, and there's this thing that's just been stopping me, and I don't know how to. Maybe you're afraid to step out. Maybe you're embarrassed. Maybe you don't know how. But there's a story in the Old Testament, and it's the David and Goliath story, which is a very famous story. We all know it. But it's the moments before David shows up, and it's these two armies that are at war with each other. It's the people of God, Israel, and the Philistines. And so you have the Israel that's up on this cliff over here, and then in between there's this valley, and then on this cliff over here there's the Philistines. And for days they're just standing there and they're looking at each other. They're at war, but nobody's moving forward. So finally the Philistines, they send down this really ugly, stinky, disgusting, I hate him, giant named Goliath. And he goes into the middle of the valley looking at Israel up on that ridge. And it says for 40 days and for 40 nights, so 80 times. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 8. He says, why do you come out and line up for battle? This is what the giant is telling Israel, the people of God, people that have seen miracles, people that know what their God could do, people that should be confident that their God could take down this giant and the whole army, but they were scared, and so they stayed on that side of the battle. And yet the giant comes out, the big ugly enemy comes out, and he says, why do you come out and line up for battle? Why'd you wake up this morning? Why'd you get dressed this morning? Why did you even try to make it look like you were gonna do something, like you were gonna move forward? Yet you stay on that side of the battlefield, never doing anything. Man, I'm tired of wasting a day. I'm tired of getting dressed and looking like I'm gonna do something, and yet staying on this side of the battlefield. I'm not staying stuck anymore. I'm not staying on this side of the battlefield anymore. I got dressed on purpose, and I got dressed for a purpose. And God has a purpose for my life. God has a purpose for every single one of you up in the balcony, down here, down here, down here. And we're gonna live it out.